How's it going, fellow club members? This is Leo Damascus with the Steam Controller Fan Club, and today we're going to take a look at the native Steam controller support in Darksiders Warmastered Edition. First things first, let's take a look at the control scheme here. As you can see, there are two different action sets. The ones in the menu can be a little bit vague, like we've got these context button 1 and 2. I can't tell just by reading that what the difference is between the two, but that's kind of nitpicky, and I'm sure with enough experimentation I could figure that out from the in-game menu. So no real complaints there, and it's definitely a good thing that they do have these two separated out. So let's take a look at the in-game controls. We have a whole lot of actions to work with here, and for some reason, there we are. So we have fairly good descriptors of what each of these are doing. For example, I can see that this one's going to open the Chronicle. If you're not playing the game yet, you're not going to know what that is, but it'll be fairly simple to figure it out once you've been playing for a little bit. I don't like how they have equip item 1, 2, 3, just numbers associated with these kinds of things here, because the way that they're associated is with different face buttons. And I just seem to have... Okay, there we are. But as I was saying, the numbers here actually associate with a different face button or a different direction on whatever it is you're pushing. And so having some sort of other description like north, south, east, and west would probably be a little bit more useful. The same thing with these Wrath consumables, but other than that, I don't really have a whole lot of complaints about this. There's a wide variety of these attacks, and they do a very good job of describing exactly what it is they do. From playing the game, though, I know that there is an issue with one of them. They have this drop-down attack, which makes you think that when you're clinging to a vine, that's going to drop you down. And it might do that with some of the button prompts, but I found that action actually works with the interact action, so you're going to want to set interact in order to be able to drop down from anything in Darksiders. By default, they have the movement on the control stick, and you have your block dash up here. They seem to believe that the grips are going to be sort of a secondary ability there, which isn't the best for usefulness, but it is kind of what you would expect new players to be interacting with them like, since we have been trained so hard to use the face buttons here. But whatever, it's not something that I would really complain about. And all in all, this looks like a fairly good standard control scheme. Definitely very serviceable. So let's actually open up the game and see what it looks like in-game. So now that we're in-game, we can start to see a couple of the things that we have with the Steam controller configuration. They don't have strong trackball enabled by default, but again, that's something that you can easily change and is not something that I'd really worry about. As I push in the left button, it comes up with the proper Steam controller glyphs, and they do associate with each of the powers that I have them equipped to right there. So definitely not a problem with that. I forget which one is supposed to enter the aim mode. Let me take a look at that quick. That would be... Your guess is as good as mine. Oh no, wait, it's the right click. And once you get into there, it has kind of a a mouse-like control scheme, so that's definitely nice. It means that they're not just trying to tack on regular joystick controls. They did actually take the Steam controller in mind when they said this. Now, one thing that you want to pay attention to with these Steam controller configurations is, does the user interface update when you change things around? You can see that I have, like, my item right there. If I hold down the right trigger, it will use that. But let's say I were to change it. The easiest one would be the horse here. It looks like that's currently associated with the right grip button. So let's see if we can pull this off. There we go. It requires a hold, which I guess the information doesn't say there, but it still gives you access. So definitely not bad there. I just held him again to get off. I can see that the left grip is going to handle chaos mode. Now that's a problem. You can see in the top right up there that they're missing some information right there. And so it's giving variable names rather than the images associated with them. I'm not sure how to get rid of that, but it looks like there's supposed to be a left button plus right button thing going on here. And that doesn't even do anything. That's gonna open up the Chronicle there.
The brains of this outfit.
And see, that's with a default control scheme, so that's not good presentation on their part right there, but apparently when you see that mess of characters, it means to click in the control stick. Okay, so the next thing that we want to take a look at is whether or not the user interface updates with any changes that you made. So I have this one. It's a control scheme for this game that I've been working on. And if I go into the menu here, so far everything seems to match my menus, but I didn't do a whole lot to change that. If you come back in here, yes! The A button summons the horse, and also gets rid of it. We still have that same mess of characters. And another thing that I noticed is that we have a similar issue when I'm trying to map things to the control stick. So it seems that the issue is entirely with them lacking glyphs for anything relating to the control stick. So that's something to keep in mind. You may have a little bit of a display issue with this game if you're dealing with that. Now, as far as one of the things that I think is kind of cool about this, it actually updates the combo lists for this game depending on what you have mapped. Like, for instance, I like to move around with the trackpad, and you can see that the trackpad button is listed on there. So it takes into consideration that I'm using that for the movement. And that is a nice touch. I definitely appreciate that. But on the other hand, I do have an issue with this. Let's talk with Volgrim. You can see here the Steam controller prompts are popping up. And it's saying that the Y button should be able to send me into the Serpent Hall. If I press that, instead what it does is it turns me into this big monster thing, and that's something that cannot be recharged once you use it. So there's been a few times that misplacement has actually messed with my ability to play this game and cost me something that's quite a bit of an issue. The real button is in my case, is the left grip here. And that's going to open it up. So what you can see is going on is that in those on-screen prompts, they aren't polling the Steam Input API in order to get the information, even though in other places we can see that they clearly are. So that seems to be about everything. Would I recommend this game if you are interested in the Steam Controller API? Actually, yes, I would. It's not exactly perfect, but it's not a bad implementation either. Like I said, you have the combos, and it does take some getting used to the fact that those button prompts are going to be inaccurate, which, especially since it's using the Steam controller glyphs, is pretty misleading. But on top of that, there's all sorts of other nice little things that I can do here. Like, I was able to make it so that when I'm holding down the right button, it does this whole mouse thing and goes right away. Or I can just single click it if I want to do some other things that require that left button. So that is a nice amount of variability there. All in all, I'm happy with how this game performs with the Steam controller. The quality of the game itself, not so much. I wasn't a huge fan of the storyline. Too much of just War stroking his own ego because, oh boy, I am just the most macho guy in the world. But it's personal preference. I know that there's a lot of people who actually really like the storyline in this game. But the point is, the Steam controller input is good, and so I actually recommend it for that purpose. So this is Leo Damascus, and I'm signing off for now. See you all in the next club meeting.